Hello, it's Kris from Socially Awkward Stitching Society, back with our second episode of our series for beginning embroiderers. Today we're going to talk about stabilizers. This ridiculous amount of stabilizer belongs to me. A lot of it actually came from a estate sale that Morgan and I went to probably a couple years ago now. But I don't want you to worry because you do not need this much stabilizer. Do I use some of these specialty stabilizers on occasion? Yes. Do I absolutely need them? No. I'm going to share with you the top 5 embroidery stabilizers that you want to have in your collection if you're a beginning embroiderer. Welcome to my studio. You have inspired me to clean it, and so I think that you and I need to be having a little bit of FaceTime every couple weeks just to make sure that happens. I have cleared away the giant spread of stabilizers that I showed you in the previous clip, and I picked out 5, just 5, that I think every beginning embroiderer should have in their collection. So the first one I want to talk about may have even come with your machine, and that's tearaway stabilizer. So tearaway is a great go-to for light designs, ones that aren't too dense and don't have too high of a stitch count. It's possible that if you got this with your machine that you got a really crappy version of it. So don't assume that all tearaways are that bad. I actually use the craptastic tearaway when I do test stitching because when I do a design that is appropriate for a tearaway stabilizer, I want it to work for you even if you don't have a higher end tearaway on hand. So you'll know your tearaway because you can tear it. What you should know is that different tearaways tear differently. Some of them have a cleaner edge. This one you can maybe see does not tear away very cleanly unless it's scored. You can work with all of these, but the important thing to know is that tearaway doesn't work for everything. If you have too many stitches, if it's going to be on a towel or a garment or something that's going to get abused and used a lot, you're going to want to use cutaway. There's a phrase out there, if you wear it, don't tear it, because your stabilizer is not only helping you lay down stitches in a way that prevents distortion and creates a really pretty design, it also supports those stitches through the whole life of your garment or the item that you're creating. One of the things tearaway is super good for, though, is light design in the hoop projects, like fobs or hand sanitizer holders, because it will hold up, it'll give you a place to put your vinyl, and it will hold up to that lighter stitching, and then you can tear it away before you cut out your item, and you'll have a nice clean edge to your item. So, tear away. All right, cutaway. My favorite cutaway is somewhere in the realm of, you'll see them described in ounces. 2 to 2.5 ounces. I also have 3.3 ounce cutaway, but keep in mind my huge collection of stabilizers. 2.5 is really good. You can double it up if you need to. And this is what you're going to want to use on heavier garments, right? Because you want that stitching to stay nice through the life of the garment. It's also what you're going to use for dense designs. So anything that is upward of, depends on the size of the design, but if it's got a lot of heavy fill areas or a lot of lettering, you're going to want to use this cutaway. And I can't tear it, right? So that means even when the stitch is perforated, it's not going to rip away. And that's what we want for designs with a heavier stitch count. Now, in the next episode, we're going to talk about stabilizers with materials. This is just to give you an overview so you can know what are the best things to buy right out of the gate. All right, I'm going to show you another one. Now this one, I actually don't use it all that much because normally when I do garments, it's things like denim and sweatshirts, so I use cutaway. But if you're doing lighter, stretchy material like t-shirts, you're going to want to invest in some no-show mesh. Now this one is obviously colored for my Viking skin, but you can get it in black and white so that when it's underneath a thinner knit, you don't see a shadow of the stabilizer showing through. You can also use it on things like tea towels or other or other thinner materials where you might get show through from your stabilizer. This one happens to be fusible. That saves you the trouble of having a spray adhesive, and so that can be just make life easier. I really hate using spray adhesives because I don't want to be breathing that stuff. I don't want it all over my studio. So when I can find a fusible, I will use it. All right, now let's talk about water soluble. Keep in mind that water soluble stabilizer is meant to go away. That means if you put it under a design that needs continued support to look nice on the fabric, and then you wash it and that goes away, your stitches lose all their support. So I use it for some pretty specific things, and you'll see it used in our designs for some pretty specific things. So the first kind is one that most people are familiar with, and this is the one people refer to as the saran wrap kind. This is a great topper. So normally stabilizer goes on the back, right? If you put this over something fuzzy, like a towel or a fuzzy blanket, this will help keep your stitches from sinking too far in and sort of disappearing into the nap of that fabric. So I always keep some on hand for those kinds of projects. The other thing that I use this for is if I've got a sticky vinyl that I'm working with and I am doing something in the hoops. I've got my top piece and I've embroidered my design. Now I've flipped my hoop over and I've taped on the back piece of vinyl. If it's a patent finish or a glitter vinyl or something like that, chances are it's going to stick a little bit when it's sliding across the bed of the machine. And when it does that, it's going to cause the thread to loop. So as a precaution, and this is really important if you live in a humid climate. I do not. We're in a super dry climate, but it still happens to me with those kinds of vinyls. If you have that problem, and as a precaution when using stickier vinyls, lay this over the back and tape it down. When you're done, it'll help that hoop slide over the bed of the machine, and then when you're done you can rip it all off. If there's little bits remaining under the thread, it's really easy to use a wet washcloth to just wipe it off. You can also use this on the top side of softer vinyls, and it does the same thing that it does on a towel or a fabric that has nap to it. It helps keep those stitches more stable and keeps them from sinking down into the vinyl. Alone, this is really not sturdy enough to do things like freestanding lace, in my opinion. Now, everybody has their favorite methods and their favorite materials, but I find that this perforates too easily, and while that's a real benefit when you're either using it as a topping or to help your hoop slide, it is not helpful when you're doing something like freestanding lace. It has a lot of satin stitching in it. So, for freestanding lace, for patches where I want the edge to be completely clean, this is what I use. This is H2O EAU is the particular brand. There are a number of different brands of this, and this is water soluble, even though it looks more like the stabilizers we just looked at. It's not as tough as a cutaway. See, it does tear, but it's more stable than the plastic wrap kind. So when you're doing something that has a higher stitch count, or let's say you're doing a badge or a patch and you're going to be doing a marrow or a satin stitch edge around it, that's an awful lot of needle holes, right? That could perforate this. This will hold up to it, and you can use multiple layers. If you find that you're still getting breakthrough when you're trying to stitch, you can use multiple layers of this. So there you have it. Those are the top 5 stabilizers that I recommend for the new embroiderer. Next time we're going to take these stabilizers and we're going to look at how we use them with different materials, from vinyl to different kinds of fabrics, to get the best stitch out that you can. So if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, give me a like and a thumbs up, and check out our links in the description, which will take you to our Etsy store and to our Facebook group and our Instagram. We have a lot of fun in our Facebook group, so I hope you'll join us there. Until next week, bye-bye.